Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Adam, and I review things, books, movies, and podcasts. And today I'm reviewing the film Capernaum. It is from, let's see, it's from 2018, and it's such a hard movie to talk about because I I put it on kind of late last night, or late for me, and I wanted to, just stop and then go to sleep and then watch it again today because I have time. But I just sat there watching it because it's such an engaging film. It's a film that gives you social commentary um, without actually being preachy, if you know what I mean. So the story follows this boy, Zain, and he grows up in this house where they have way too many kids, and he is really, really close with his sister, maybe even twin sister. I'm not sure what the age difference is there, but he's really, really close. And his sister starts to develop naturally like girls do, and she has her period. And Zane is really concerned because he thinks that his family is going to basically sell her off, and that's exactly what happens. They sell her off to one of their neighbors who's letting them live there for free, and he just leaves, and he is out on the streets of Beirut trying to survive by himself. And he runs into this not Lebanese, sorry, this Ethiopian woman who is also an undocumented. Well, I mean, I don't know if Zayn is undocumented immigrant or what. He doesn't have any papers. And it's hard to tell, but I think maybe they're Palestinian, his family, but I don't know enough Arabic to tell you if they're Palestinian or just very poor Lebanese Arabs. But anyway, so he meets this Ethiopian woman, and she just basically says, "Oh, what's your name?" Because he sees this boy is just wandering the streets, and he's like, "Oh, my name is Zain." And then later, Zion asks her for food, and she doesn't have a lot herself, but she invites him into her home where she's taking care of her baby. So she's has illegally immigrated to Lebanon, and she is in a situation where she needs to get fake papers. Maybe she legally emigrated to Lebanon, but she overstayed her welcome. And when she goes to get the papers, um, the guy in charge kind of the guy who's providing these false documents is basically like, you know, pay me $500 more than I asked before. And that character is really well done as well because he's really, really smarmy, but everything he says seems to be quite reasonable. He has conversations with her, and he has conversations with Zane later. Um, yeah, and it turns out that it's all a scam, and he has been capturing people. And the Ethiopian lady, she has a boy, and Zayn is taking care of him, and they develop this really like sweet sort of relationship. And Zayn starts to tell people like it's his brother. And on the one hand, and that's the good thing too, because he's playing a character who's 12 years old, and as on the one hand, he's incredibly street smart. He's able to survive in this really, really difficult situation. But on the other hand, he's really, really, really naive. Like, I think part of him really does want to believe that this kid is his brother because the Ethiopian lady was kind to him. Probably, that was probably the first time an adult in his life was actually kind to him. which is like really, really shocking. So he wants to believe that this Ethiopian boy, who is quite black and uh, ironically played, not ironically, but played by a girl, but it's a little baby, so you can't really tell. But anyway, uh, he really wants to believe that this boy is his brother. And there's even a point where they go to the like a charity for Syrians, and he is Lebanese apparently, so he has to pretend to be Syrian, and he makes up this story about how he, some of his neighbors ratted them out, and their house was bombed, and he had to crawl like Rambo. And it's so, I don't know, because you see like this earnestness in this kid's acting, and the reason why it's so earnest is because Zayn, the actor, he was actually portrayed by a real Syrian refugee, and he looks 12 in the movie, and the reason he looks 12 is because he's completely malnourished. And one part of the plot of the movie is that Zayn wants to leave Lebanon, and he goes to his parents and he says, "I need my papers." And his parents are like, "What papers? You don't have any papers." So, like, obviously, if you want to have a fake passport, you need to have documents that you can base it on, right? So, I think luckily the boy, this is 2018, right? So he would have been 14 when he was making that movie, and they found him a place in Norway, and he was learning to read and write when the movie came out. So that's really, really good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like my thoughts are not quite organized about this movie. But yeah, it's really, really engaging. And I think it shows poverty in a way that's not poverty porn, but it shows how how people live in those situations. It shows people living in slums in Beirut. It shows illegal immigration in Lebanon and how it works, like people smuggle people out from places like Lebanon to Europe. So, and it also shows this like incredible resilience and, as I said before, naivete of the main character. Because, yeah, he really wants this boy to be his brother. But on the other hand, so I didn't tell you a very key point, very key plot detail. So he's living with this Ethiopian lady and her son, and in return for being fed, I mean, the lady doesn't ever say this, but basically the deal is he'll take care of the kid and she can go out and work. When she is going out and working, she is illegal, so she doesn't have any documentation, like I mentioned before. So she gets arrested for not having any documentation, and she is put into like a holding cell. So um, after that happens, Zane really does his best to take care of this boy. And there's a moment where he's trying to leave, because my first thought when that happened was like the lady didn't come back, and I was like, why don't you just leave? You don't have any you don't owe anything to that boy, right? But he realizes that he does owe something to that boy. And there's a moment where he's trying to he's leaving him in the street, and he leaves him with a bunch of stuff, I guess in the hopes that somebody will come and take him. But the boy is following him down the street, so he eventually comes back. He even like ties him to the to the wall, and then and this is like an incredibly like gifted child actor, by the way, because he gets tied to the wall, and then he's like completely calm about that, and then the Zane is like walking away, and the baby is trying to walk towards him, and he comes back and unties him. So yeah, what happens then is that um, Zane goes to this human smuggler trash bag named Aspro, and Aspro was the person who was going to get documentation for the mother. He did not do this, and Aspro had said that he can take the boy, not Zane, but the baby, and that he has like a family who wants to adopt a kid, and this baby would be like perfect. And it seems like a little bit creepy, his interest in the baby. But yeah, at the end of the movie, the baby gets rescued, and it's kind of a happy ending. I'm moving around in my squeaky chair. It's kind of a happy ending because the baby gets rescued, and Zane is in prison because of one thing, and I don't think I'll spoil that, but he is in prison because he committed a crime, and the frame of the movie is that he's suing his parents because he thinks his parents were irresponsible for bringing him into the world, which is probably true, and then the last, and he can't leave, as I mentioned, because he doesn't have any documents. And he's in prison. And the last couple of scenes are one, the Lebanese police actually break up this smuggling ring, and they rescue the baby that Zane's been taking care of, that he has been taken care of. I think that's grammatically correct. Um, that he has been taken care of. Yes. So they rescue the baby and they reunite him with his mother, and his mother is like so happy that that happens. And the very last scene is Zane, like a close up of Zane, and he's getting like a picture for something, and they're like, oh, stand left, stand right, and then they have like this nice little interaction, the photographer and him, and you see Zane's face, and it's just like kind of beaten down with all of the experiences he has had, and the photographer says smile, and Zane doesn't smile, and then he says, hey, this is for your, this is for your documents, not for your death certificate. And he smiles, and it's kind of like like he legitimately smiles, but it's really really painful for him to do so. And you kind of think like, why is he getting documents if he's in prison? So you think maybe he's going to be released from prison after this. So it's a very heavy movie with kind of a happy ending, or at least an ending that is ambiguous enough that um, it really, really works. And to talk a little bit about the the movie, as I said, Zayn was played by an actual Syrian refugee named Zayn al Rafia, and Zayn al Rafia, because he was a refugee, and I think the Syrian war started probably when he was 5 or 6. So he didn't go to school, he couldn't read and write. So all of his lines, I don't know how they did that, whether they were ad-libbed by him, and the director said just basically, you're in this situation, what would you say in this situation? And he does a really, really good job with that, because some of the things that he says are so clever on the one hand, and the other hand, like they're so um, naive, as I mentioned. The other thing that's interesting as an English speaker of the who was watching this movie is Capernaum in French means like chaos, because it's a city that um, Jesus basically says in the Bible is not going to be redeemed. But so it's such a good title, like Capernaum meaning chaos, because you see the chaos of poverty. You see the chaos of like kind of stupid bureaucracy that keeps people in places where they shouldn't be, just because they they can't travel freely. So, and you see the chaos of social norms. Um, yeah, and I think that this is a great way to make a movie, and it tells, like I said, it has a message without being preachy. So I watched recently another movie called 13th Fail, and that one, I think that the portrayal of poverty is like poverty porn, and it's saying that if you suffer through this, it builds character. You know, you'll be virtuous or whatever. But in this movie, it doesn't feel like porn, so it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like poverty porn. I mean, it doesn't feel like the suffering is there just to make you like, oh, gross, they're suffering so much. But you do see the suffering. And in those moments of suffering, you also see the kind of the resilience of the human spirit, because Zane manages to make really beautiful choices in his life according to his own understanding. Um, and, the Egyptian mother also makes really great choices in a hard situation. I mean, you could say, well, she didn't make great choices because she became pregnant and then she was arrested, but she chose to help Zane, and she didn't have to do that. And another thing that I want to say before ending this review is that this is the most successful, like financially successful movie in the Arabic language of all time. And it's the most successful movie um, of the Middle East of all time. And I was thinking about it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I really liked the movie. I would give it like 9 out of 10. But I don't think that I would go to the cinema and sit down and enjoy this movie. Um, but I think that it really, really speaks to the the culture of that area, and that's why people really, really like it. And it's saying important messages about the culture to itself, and I think that that works really, really well. A lot better than Westerners saying child marriage is a problem, your bureaucracy is a problem. It works a lot better. So if you haven't seen this movie, see it. It's really worthwhile. If you have seen the movie and you want to share your thoughts about it, put them in the comment section down below. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please do so. I'm trying to have 150 subscribers by the end of January, and I need to have 135 more. So I think 35 more, 35 more. So I think it's completely possible. If you want to check out the Patreon, um, yeah, check out the link below. Thank you. I've been talking too much about Capernaum, but it's really, really good. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.